Imagine waking up on a dusty couch, coughing up blood, your skin burning with fever, and realizing the man you married left you there to die because his mother told him to. That was me. And that couch? It was my grandmother's ranch, 100 miles from the nearest hospital where cell service vanished the moment you left the main road. Before we begin, if you've ever been abandoned by someone who swore to love you or underestimated when you were at your lowest, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how I turned a death sentence into a reckoning no one saw coming. My name is Hallie Jensen. I'm 32, a former EMT from Hays County, Texas, now hanging on by the threads of what used to be a solid life. Or so I thought. I married Grayson Landry 5 years ago. On paper, he was the perfect man. Good-looking, clean-cut, soft-spoken. He worked in tech sales, always said the right things, brought flowers on Wednesdays just because. But here's the thing. Perfection hides a lot of rot if you don't look close enough. Grayson's mother, Catherine, never liked me. And never liked is putting it kindly. She was the kind of woman who always spoke in that sweet southern tone that made everything sound like a compliment, even when she was telling you you weren't good enough. Oh, honey, that's such a bold lipstick for a woman with your coloring. She didn't like that I was older than Grayson by 3 years. Didn't like that I'd worked the night shift on an ambulance for over a decade. Didn't like that I was still healing from a miscarriage when we met. She wanted Grayson to marry someone from their church, someone quieter, more agreeable. I wasn't. But I thought love could overpower all that. God, was I naive. The illness started slow. Fatigue I couldn't shake. Then night sweats. Then one day I bent down to pick up a sock and nearly blacked out. I thought it was stress. I'd been working overtime to pay off the credit card Grayson secretly maxed out after his crypto scheme went belly up. He never took accountability for anything. Not even that. Still, I tried to hold it together. Because that's what you do when you're married, right? You try. One Friday afternoon, I woke up on the kitchen floor. My tongue felt like cotton and I couldn't move my legs right. I remember crawling, literally crawling to the living room, where Grayson was half watching a podcast with his earpods in. He didn't notice me. When I whispered, "I think I need a doctor," he just looked annoyed, like I had interrupted him during something important. That night, he drove me 4 hours west to my late grandma's ranch in Blanco County. Didn't even let me pack. Didn't call a doctor. Didn't stay. He dropped me off with a suitcase I didn't pack, an old wool blanket, and a bottle of expired Tylenol. And then he left. No kiss, no check-in. Just said, "You need rest and you're too much for me right now. Mom says you should be out of the way until you figure your stuff out." Then he drove off into the darkness. The silence out there was unbearable. No heat, no signal, just wind scraping across the shutters and coyotes howling like banshees at night. The first week was a blur. Fever dreams, hallucinations. I remember crying out for water and finding nothing but an old jug under the sink with algae floating in it. I was sick. I mean, really sick. But somewhere in that darkness, maybe around day 6 or 7, I realized something that made me angry enough to live. They were counting on me to die. Not just Grayson, not just Catherine, all of them. My so-called family who hadn't returned my calls in months. My stepdaughter Chloe, who I helped raise for 4 years, threw a baby shower without even telling me she was pregnant. They had written me off like a bad check. And there I was, with the vulture circling, deciding whether I'd let them be right. I didn't. When I could finally sit upright without vomiting, I crawled outside and started a fire in the pit out back. That warmth gave me enough clarity to make a plan. I found a shortwave radio my grandfather used to keep in the attic. I remembered from childhood how he'd patch into weather stations, ham operator clubs, and sometimes even emergency channels. Took me 3 days, but I got through. A retired veteran from Marble Falls answered, said his name was Jim McCrae, and he remembered my granddad from years back. Said he'd be there in 2 days with food and supplies. He was. And Jim didn't just bring soup and blankets. He brought survival gear, a first aid kit, and a look in his eyes that said, "You've been left to rot, and I won't let that happen again." That man nursed me back to life. Every day he sat with me on the porch and told me stories about the land, how it belonged to my family long before anyone put fences on it. He said, "This place is in your blood, girl. It'll keep you alive if you let it." So I did. Winter came and I was strong enough to split firewood. Spring came and I had a small vegetable garden going. Summer came and I'd fixed the roof myself, taught by YouTube videos downloaded during one of Jim's monthly visits with his satellite laptop. I didn't just recover, I transformed. The thing about being left for dead is when you live, you're reborn. And the woman who rose from those ashes, she wasn't interested in forgiveness. She was interested in truth. One day in late August, Jim brought a newspaper clipping folded in quarters. He said, "Thought you should see this." It was an announcement from the Hill Country Herald. Grayson Landry appointed temporary executor of the Jensen estate, pending confirmation of Hallie Jensen's whereabouts. Presumed deceased. Presumed dead. I stared at the ink until the words blurred. He was going to claim my grandmother's ranch, the same one he left me to die on, because he thought I was gone for good. Because Catherine probably told him it was God's will. Because no one expected me to survive. Well, surprise. I was not only alive, I was waiting. And when Grayson finally showed up with his lawyer and a smug grin, he was going to find out just how wrong they all were. I didn't sleep the night before he came. Not because I was scared. No, that part of me burned off during the fever months. It was something deeper. A cold, vibrating anticipation I felt in my bones, like the earth itself was holding its breath. The kind of stillness right before a tornado touches down. He pulled up in a leased white Escalade around noon, dust cloud chasing behind him like the devil's own tail. I watched from the upstairs bedroom window tucked just behind the old curtains. I wanted him to see the house first, see what I'd done with the place. Fresh white siding, new windows, porch steps fixed, wind chimes made from antique spoons catching the breeze. It didn't look like a place someone had died in. It looked lived in, loved, claimed. He stood next to the vehicle, hands shielding his eyes. He looked thinner than I remembered, paler, a little gray in the beard he used to shave obsessively. He turned in a slow circle, confused, like the story in his head wasn't matching the scene in front of him. Good. Then the passenger door opened, and she stepped out. Catherine. Still dressed like a Texas senator's wife, cream pantsuit, gold earrings, hair sprayed stiff as drywall. She looked around like she'd just caught a whiff of manure, then started muttering under her breath. My blood boiled, not because she was there, but because she looked comfortable, like she belonged. I waited until they reached the porch before I opened the front door. Grayson flinched when he saw me. I stepped out into the sunlight slow and steady,
No theatrics, no shouting. Just stood there, arms crossed, feeling the wind move through my hair like the land itself was backing me up. He blinked hard, like maybe I was a ghost. Then, with that same soft voice I used to think meant kindness, he said, "Hallie? Oh my God, I thought you were dead." I said it plain. No emotion, like I was stating the weather. His mouth opened, then closed. Catherine stepped forward, lips puckered in a tight little smile. "Well, this is entirely unexpected." I turned toward her. "Is that why you filed paperwork to seize the property?" Her nostrils flared slightly, just a twitch, the only sign she was rattled. "That land was left in trust. We were simply following procedure. No one had heard from you in months. Years, actually." "It's been 1 year." Catherine gave a little shrug, the kind women like her used when they're pretending to be reasonable. "Well, regardless, the probate hearing is scheduled for Monday. We didn't come here to fight. We just wanted to check in, see if everything was okay." The audacity made my skin crawl. They wanted to check in, like this was some long-lost family reunion, not a murder attempt dressed up in legalese. I didn't invite them in, but Grayson pushed past me anyway, like he still had some kind of say. I followed them inside. He looked around the kitchen, at the butcher block counters I'd refinished, the shelves I'd built from salvaged barnwood. He touched the fridge like it might bite him. "You really fixed it up," he said quietly. I didn't reply. Catherine walked straight to the sitting room and sat down like she owned the place, crossed her legs, started tapping on her phone. It hit me right then. She wasn't here for a visit. She was here to document. "You never came to the hospital," I said to Grayson, leaning against the kitchen doorway. He shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't know which one you went to." "I didn't go to one. You made sure that happened." Catherine didn't even look up. "Now, Hallie, let's not dredge up dramatics." "Dramatics?" My voice cracked. Not weak, just sharp, like glass. "You dumped me here like a dying stray dog. You said you wanted rest." "I never said I wanted to be left alone. You and your mother made that choice for me." Grayson rubbed the back of his neck. His wedding band caught the light. "Funny, I stopped wearing mine the day I could stand long enough to burn it in the stove." "You're trespassing," I said finally. Grayson blinked. "What?" "This land belongs to me. As of 3 months ago, the title was transferred in full. The deed is in my name, and I never filed a death certificate. I'm very much alive, which means you don't have a legal leg to stand on." I watched the words settle over him. He opened his mouth again, but nothing came out. Catherine stood up abruptly, her smile gone. "We'll see what the court says. I'll be there Monday, with every medical record, radio transmission, timestamp photo, and notarized witness statement I've gathered over the last 8 months." Grayson looked genuinely startled now. "You've been planning this?" "I've been surviving. Planning is just what came after." They left in silence, but not before Catherine turned on the porch and said, "You always were such a waste of potential, Hallie. I told Grayson not to marry a woman who carried death in her womb." I didn't reply. I didn't even flinch, because I'd already decided she wasn't going to get the last word. That night, Jim came by. I told him everything. He nodded slow, running a hand through his weathered beard. You want me in court Monday? No, I said, but I'll need your written testimony. He looked at me for a long time. They're not done, you know. I know. They're going to come at you sideways. Not through the law, through people. Lies. Reputation. They'll try to gut you without leaving a mark. I swallowed hard. Let them try. But even as I said it, a tiny pit formed in my stomach. Because part of me was scared of exactly that. Not what they do to me, but what they might do to the people around me. People like Jim. I wasn't wrong. The next morning, I woke to a voicemail. It was from Chloe, my stepdaughter. The same girl who hadn't called me in over a year. She was crying. Hallie? I don't know what to believe. Dad says you faked being sick, that you made it all up for the property. Grandma said you're trying to bankrupt us? I just need to know if any of that is true. Because if it is, I don't think I can forgive you. The line went quiet for a beat. Then, you're not the woman I thought you were. I stared at the phone in my hand for a long time, and I realized something that made my blood run cold. Grayson and Catherine weren't trying to win in court. They were trying to erase me again, not physically this time, but emotionally, socially, to make me look like a liar, a manipulator, a woman who cried wolf and cried inheritance. And they weren't done, because Monday was coming, and so was war.
The courthouse was exactly how I remembered it. Stale coffee smell in the lobby, ceiling fans spinning with all the urgency of a funeral dirge, and a judge who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on a Monday morning. I wore a navy blue blazer I found at a thrift store and boots that still had dirt from the ranch on them. I didn't bother with makeup. Didn't need to hide anything anymore. Grayson was already seated when I walked in. Catherine sat next to him, back ramrod straight, in some designer getup with a brooch the size of a baby's fist. Her face froze when she saw me. Not surprised, not shaken, just calculating. Like she was already planning her next move. Too late. I worked past them, slow and calm, and sat on my side of the courtroom. My lawyer, a soft-spoken but razor-sharp woman named Dana Cruz, handed me a folder of documents. Ready? I nodded. More than ready. I'd been ready since the night I woke up on that couch and realized the only person who was going to save me was me. The hearing began. Grayson's lawyer went first, painting a lovely little picture of confusion and miscommunication. Claimed Grayson had every reason to believe I'd abandoned the property, that the illness was never officially diagnosed, and that the family had tried multiple times to locate me but were met with silence. I could barely keep from scoffing. Silence? They'd blocked my number, changed addresses, ignored every letter I sent those first few months when I was barely able to hold a pen. Then it was our turn. Dana stood up, calm and clinical. She presented Jim's notarized statement, how he found me half-conscious, feverish, and without resources. She submitted satellite call logs, time-stamped emails, photos of my recovery timeline, and, most damning of all, a voice recording I had taken 3 months prior during a call with Catherine. She hadn't known I was recording. I told Grayson this was the only way. That girl's just dragging him down. Best we can do is step back and let nature take its course. When the judge heard that line, he paused, looked up over his glasses, and for the first time I saw something shift. Grayson looked like he wanted to disappear. His lawyer leaned over to whisper something frantic. Catherine, to her credit,
didn't flinch, just crossed her legs and stared at me like I was some bumpkin who got lucky. The judge cleared his throat. In light of these submissions and the disturbing nature of this recorded conversation, it is the opinion of this court that Miss Jensen has not only proven her rightful ownership of the Jensen estate, but has also been the victim of what appears to be calculated neglect, if not outright malicious intent. He glanced at Catherine. I find no legal basis for the executor claim filed by Mr. Landry and recommend immediate dismissal. Just like that. It was over. But that wasn't the part that hit me hardest. That came in the hallway after the hearing. Grayson caught up to me as I was walking out. Hallie, wait! I turned, but I didn't stop walking. He jogged up beside me. I didn't know what to do. Everything was falling apart back then, and Mom she made it sound like it was the best thing for everyone. I stopped cold. For everyone? I said. You left me to die, Grayson. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And you made it more than once. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. That soft, apologetic face I used to fall for, I saw it now for what it was. A mask, worn smooth by years of hiding behind it. I stepped in closer. Quiet, but firm. Don't ever call me again. Don't write. Don't drive near that land. If I see your car even slowing down near my gate, I'll file a restraining order so fast your lawyer's head will spin. He looked stunned. So that's it? That's it. I didn't speak to Catherine. She didn't try. But I did catch her watching me from across the parking lot, as if she still couldn't believe I'd done it. I'd survived. Not just the sickness. Her. Life moved forward after that. Quietly, then all at once. The deed was secured. I took full ownership of the ranch and filed a cease and desist on any contact from the Lambrys. Jim and I partnered to turn the old barn into a trauma recovery retreat for women leaving abusive relationships. We called it Second Wind Ranch. Within 6 months, we had a waiting list. I started teaching basic survival workshops on weekends. Nothing fancy, just the stuff no one teaches anymore. How to build a fire, how to trust your gut, how to sit with your own silence and listen to it. People came. And they kept coming. And then one late summer afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. It was from Chloe. It said, I'm sorry. I know now what happened. I know what they did. I didn't want to believe it, but I see it now. If you ever want to talk, I'd really like that. I sat on the porch for a long time, that letter in my hands, the wind moving across the fields like a memory I hadn't thought about in months. I didn't write back right away. Some things take time. But I did write back. Because not everyone deserves a second chance, but some people just need a little truth before they can even ask for one. The thing is, revenge doesn't always look like fireworks and courtroom drama. Sometimes it's quieter than that. It's walking out of a hearing with your head held high while the people who tried to bury you shrink into shadows behind you. It's standing on land they swore you'd never inherit with the sun on your face and your name carved into the mailbox. It's becoming the version of yourself they never imagined you had the strength to be. And living well, not out of spite, but because you earned it. Thanks for listening to my story. This was Hallie, still standing, still rebuilding, still here. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fire. It's growth. It's becoming the person they didn't believe could survive without them. If you've ever been abandoned, underestimated, or left for dead, emotionally or otherwise, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments below. And if this one hit home, go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We've got more tales of justice, reckoning, and rebirth coming soon. Because survival, that's just the beginning.